In the file that I've got open here, everything is inside a div that has the ID content. There's a 20-pixel semi-transparent border around the div, and the image is a background image. Let me close the style sheet for a moment and turn on Live View. By default, browsers position background images at the top left of an element inside any border, as shown here. To move the background image to a different position, you use the background position property. But calculating the position is always done from this top left corner, inside the border. CSS3 introduces a new property called background origin, which allows you to redefine the background positioning area. The best way to describe how it works is to show you. I'll just turn off Live View and go back into the style sheet and add background origin. Dreamweaver brings up code hints for the values border box, content box and padding box. Let's try border box. The background origin property is supported by the latest versions of all browsers, but Firefox 3.6 has used a slightly different syntax. So to keep Firefox 3.6 happy, I need to put in a different version with the vendor-specific prefix. Vendor-specific prefixes must always go before the standard property, so the correct version takes precedence in browsers that support it. So it's -mos, and it's background origin. And you'll see the reason for using the code hints here. Firefox 3.6 uses border rather than border box. Right, let's just test that out in Live View. You see that what has happened now is that the background image is painted underneath the border. So you can see the background image through the translucent border. If I temporarily disable my background repeat, no repeat property, you'll see that the background image tiles and it covers the entire area and it goes underneath the border. Now that's quite normal for it to go underneath the border. Backgrounds always stretch underneath the border. The difference is that the position from which the image starts is now at the edge of the border rather than inside the border. You'll see the implication of this a little later in the video. Let's re-enable that and go back into the style sheet and try one of the different values for background origin. Content box, and for the vendor specific property it is content. Here the background image begins inside the padding at the point where the content begins, but as you can see it stretches beyond the padding on the right hand side. So if you want a background image just behind an element's content, you need to choose an image of the appropriate size. Again, let's see what happens when I turn off background repeat, no repeat. What's happened is that the image has tiled and it now covers the whole background to the div. Background repeat tiles background images horizontally and vertically in both directions, from the point specified either by background position or background origin. And what's happened here is that the top left of the background image is here inside the padding, and that's the starting point, but it still tiles up and down across the whole background of the div. Let's re-enable that rule. Go back into the style sheet and we'll now try the final value, which is padding box. And for the vendor specific property it needs to be padding. So as you can see, padding box merely replicates the browser's normal behavior. Let's disable background repeat, no repeat again. As I mentioned earlier, backgrounds always stretch under the border. Because background origin is set to padding box, the background image's top left corner is inside the border, and it tiles or repeats from that position. With opaque borders this doesn't matter, but if you want translucent borders, background origin plays an important role, and you probably want to set it to border box. Since padding box merely replicates the browser's normal behavior, there's really no need to use it. But using background origin with border box or content box offers a quick and easy way to position background images without the need to calculate horizontal and vertical offsets for background position.